Hello, my friend. This is audio blog number 4, Simply for Jesus, Tuesday, August 9th, 2023. After a good night's sleep, I woke up Wednesday hoping Des Moines would leave a better impression than it happened at the bus station. It was a surreal moment, but it wouldn't define what God had planned. Today, I was going to get a tour at Hope Ministries at 1310 6th Avenue in Des Moines. Leslie Green, the community involvement manager from Hope Ministry, was my contact. I'd opened my app to get a Lyft driver named Michael popped up in a red Chevy Equinox. I jumped in the car and noticed lots of cool dashboard trinkets, from hula girls to you name it. Michael had worked in a women's correctional facility for over 25 years and was retired. He went on to explain what we needed to fix our prison system and how we need to train our police officers better. Finally, after solving the world's problems, he asked what I did. I told him I was a student pastor and explained the gospel. As we pulled up to Hope Ministry, I handed him a card for Simply for Jesus. He handed it back and told me he was a deist. His last comments was, "We're more similar than you think." Those words stuck in my head the rest of the day. Like many Christians, they believe they have the God thing figured out. The problem is they don't include God. If Jesus is not your rock, don't worry about the roll called up yonder, because you built your house on sinking sand. The moment I walked in Hope Ministry, I could feel the love of Jesus. Leslie was waiting for me at the front, and I was introduced to the gentleman at the front desk. He explained how they admitted the people, and he gave his own testimony on how Hope Ministry had saved his life. He'd been clean and sober for over 13 years and gave all glory to God. Leslie would move to the next room, which was the worship area, and explain how Hope Ministry since 1915 remained dedicated to providing hope and change to the lives of people experiencing homelessness in this area. They serve 3 meals to hundreds of people every day. They provide free and safe shelter for men, women, and children who are homeless and hurting. Through classes, counseling, work skill training, and more, their free life recovery program offers lasting transformation. Our tour would showcase the sleeping areas, the kitchen, the check-in areas. The mission of Hope Ministry is to rescue those homeless, hungry, abused, addicted, providing opportunities for hope, recovery, restoration through the love of Jesus Christ. Leslie told me it was time to grab lunch, so we grabbed a plate, got fried chicken, stuffing, and fruit. As we ate, we talked more about Hope Ministry. She explained how they operated on 20% of all donation and 80% goes back into the ministry. I was blown away about how good stewards of this money that God had entrusted them. The phrase "little is much when God is in it" came to mind. Hope Ministry is the hands and feet of God in Des Moines, Iowa. After lunch, Leslie was kind enough to drop me off at Smoky Row Coffee Shop to wait for my next part of my journey. We said goodbye, and I walked into the coffee shop, my backpack and suitcase behind me. I asked the barista what was the most popular drink, and he mentioned Sweet Georgia Brown. It's coffee with brown sugar and honey. After settling down, I started to catch up on emails and church stuff, drinking one of the most exceptional cups of coffee I've ever had. After looking at my agenda, I realized the bus I wanted to take for Lincoln, Nebraska was sold out. Another pivot. But I looked for a vehicle on Avis, and they had something for me at the airport. I opened my Lyft app, and it popped up Wait and Save, which meant I could wait for 20 minutes and then arrive. Little did I know what God had planned just outside that door. I walked out to see this gentleman with a knee walker approaching me. His name was Copeland Francis, and he explained the situation. After listening to him, I explained what I was doing. That's when it got real. He started preaching to me. I said, "Hey, wait, Copeland, I need to get this." Because I knew God was working. Sure enough, I got 2 minutes, and it was more than 2 hours of preaching most of the time. I noticed one guy in the drive-thru kept looking at us. When Copeland and I ended in prayer, I gave him my info and some money to help with his need. As I walked to my position for the Lyft driver, the guy from the truck through the drive-thru pulled up to me. He asked if I was the owner, and I told him no, I was just traveling through, simply for Jesus. Come to find out, he was a local pastor in a church. We had a great conversation, and I encouraged him to keep the faith. It's always a blessing when people see you doing God's work and they notice it. You can't hide a light if you let it shine. My Lyft driver, Narcisco, pulled up in his Honda Insight and off to the airport for a rental. I soon found out that he was from the Philippines and only been in the U.S. for 3 years. His sister had married a guy from the Des Moines area, and his parents still lived in the Philippines. I then started to talk with him about what I was doing. I noticed he was wearing a WWJD bracelet, and he had an extraordinary tattoo of Jesus on the cross on his arm. I figured I was preaching to the choir, but even the choir needs to hear the gospel. We had a wonderful conversation, and I finally pulled up to the airport. I got up to the Avis line and got to meet the warden. Yep, that's what he told me. They call it because he walks and runs a straight, tight ship. It's incredible how contagious it is when you meet people with optimistic attitudes. He didn't have the convict that I requested, but he did have an upgrade for my reservation. Just remember, God is even with you at the car rental desk. I got my rental prepared for my next 3 hours to Lincoln, Nebraska. I turned my worship music on and had church all the way there. Because remember, God has a plan.